What did a friend do that instantly turned you on? She just grabbed me by the collar and kissed me while she was sitting on my truck bed talking to me. It was rather out of the blue, but it worked. That was 7 years ago. We've been married for the past 5. I normally dressed in comfy pants and a baggy top when I worked in the office, still business professional, for years. One day I went in wearing a fitted skirt and top and high heels since I had an important meeting. When I walked past my friend's desk, he was leaning back in his chair on a call. He looked up to wave hi like he normally does and ended up falling backwards out of his chair. Saw him in a totally different light after that. He hugged me when I had my coat unbuttoned, and instead of putting his arms over it, he slid his arms inside my coat and hugged me really close. His palms were so warm on my back that it was an instant thing. Always liked him, but that was the aha moment. Not me, but the girl. Worked with a girl, and we share a bit of an age gap. She's 11 years older than me. We were talking about dating and someone mentioned they'd never date someone older. I looked at the girl and I said, I'd date someone 11 years older than me. She told me that's the moment she realized she was attracted to me. It's not much, but now we have a 2-month-old baby. I had a really good friend in grad school. We would talk, ride motorcycles, go to local fairs, hang out, and just generally have fun. She was very pretty, but I never thought of her in a romantic or sexual way. She was taking belly dancing lessons and decided to give me a quick sample while we were at the library. I was instantly turned on and couldn't think of her in any other way after that. Weird, but fact. Looked deep into my eyes and told me, would you perhaps carry me, when her feet hurt after a night of dancing. So I carried her piggyback style for quite some distance to get to the car, and I must say, it's been a while since I felt that masculine. It was incredibly arousing. Not gonna lie though, the fact that her voice is incredibly hot and smoky helped a great deal too, and having it next to my ear while I carried her sent shivers down my spine. She changed her clothes in front of me while casually talking. Man, I had a friend that I met after me and my girlfriend broke up. I was super into her but was too dumb to notice the signs. We played beer pong at my dad's house one night and, looking back, she was throwing out signals. One day we were alone at her house and she was showing me outfits she was considering wearing later that night. Literally changing right in front of me. Why the hell I didn't realize what she was doing, I'll never know. Edit: how is this my most upvoted comment of all time? Lol. This is how my mom got my dad, but she didn't have the gonads to be obvious about it. My dad was going to give her a ride somewhere. When he came to pick her up, she asked him to help her find her keys in her dorm. She then said she had to change real quick and went behind a screen. But she had strategically positioned a mirror so he would get an eyeful as she changed. Don't ask me to explain my mom. We found out about the mirror from our aunt, who can't keep a secret to save her life. The rest is history. Friend, but also coworker. We were on a work trip for a week. It was a long week and our flight ended up getting canceled not once, but twice. Anyways, she bought a new shirt to wear on the last day on our flight home as she didn't pack extra. On the ride to the airport she said OMG duck this, and took her shirt off to pull a tag off. Pulled it off, sat there in her bra for a few seconds and then put her shirt on. I don't know. Her confidence and the fact she didn't care about the situation. Little crush was formed that day. We were sat in a park and she decided to show me some of the stretches and exercises she does every morning. Some of them turned out to be, to my eyes at least, very provocative and definitely made me feel a certain way. That was the first time I'd seen her in a more than friends light. Fast forward a few years and we're now in a relationship and I still get to see her do those stretches most mornings. In college at my fraternity, a female friend asked if she could change her clothes in my single room for her job. I said sure and waited outside the door. After a few moments she said I could re-enter. She was under my bed covers naked with a big grin on her face. I entered and locked the door behind me. We both came up for air the next morning. She stayed a close friend for decades until she lost her battle with breast cancer. Rest in peace, Tina. When I was in high school, I went to an outdoor concert with a friend. There was a group of people all from my high school that we joined and passed around some snuck-in liquor. Eventually, a girl who I had always found attractive looked at me and jumped onto my front and I held her up by her thighs for a couple of minutes while we talked face to face. That was hard to get over for a while. Recently, like a couple of years ago, at work one would come up behind me, pressed into my back, would put her hands over my eyes and say, "Guess who?" I'd respond with a dumb answer like George Washington, King Kong, just anything stupid. Then my second answer would be a compliment. She liked me, I liked her. The challenge was she was a widow who I don't think had gotten over her husband. When the talks got serious, I knew I could never live up to the guy. Little things like we had talked about a possible vacation, and a lot of the things she wanted to see were places her husband had taken her to. Way back in the day I got into a wrestling match with a friend. I was letting her win. She told me that she was going to tell our friends she kicked my ass. I asked if she thought she was really kicking my ass. She said yes. My ego kicked in and I flipped her over. In her struggles to get away, her shirt slid up a few times. Each time I pulled it back down. After a few times, she said F that, meaning if her shirt came up, just let it. We made out some, but no sex. We wrestled a few more times, but they weren't as hot as that first one. I was starting to go to the gym more, so I asked my friend to help me with machines, cause I get gym anxiety plus IDK what half the gym machines do. We took turns on a gym machine he thought would be easy for me, and when it was my turn, he helped me get the right form down by placing my hands or orienting my body a certain way. We're still friends, never anything more, but age. We do however not gym anymore. I was on a work trip to Rome with one of my colleagues who had become a close friend for about 2 years. One night, we were walking around the old forum and happened upon a single violinist playing while we stared up at Trajan's column. It was in the end of Feb, so it was a bit cold. She had her hands inside her jacket and asked me to put her glasses on her so she could see the details in the column better. It was an instant moment of connection, while I carefully rested the glasses arms on her ears and slowly slid them back towards her nose. I've never felt anything so electric in my life. We went back to the Airbnb that we were sharing, and our boss recommended we share, and had the most amazing night. That was back in 2019. We'll be celebrating our 1-year wedding anniversary this fall. 3. I was 17 and was best friends with a college girl in town that I had met through my brother's then fiancé. We were chilling late as hell one night and we wrapped up a movie and was getting her stuff together since she had work in the morning. She stopped me and said, "What if I just stay?" The way she looked at me when she said it sealed my fate forever, lol. I married that woman and we now have 2 beautiful little kids. Was the first one made that night? Lomeo, not that night. Very unexpected. We were playing tackle football in the park with a group of friends. Like dangerous, no pads, no rules, just beating each other up. She joins my team, knocks over dudes twice her size. Her friends tell me her nickname on the field is Truck because nobody can stop her. Think Tormund and Brienne on Game of Thrones. I instantly know, I hit the jackpot, married her within a year. Been married for 24 years, she is still unstoppable. Nobody in the world I would rather have my back. I had been talking to a girl on Snapchat and eventually decided to hang out one day. We planned on a little beach trip just to get to know each other. She is from the next state over. She was so attractive that 4 of my 5 best friends insisted I was being catfished. She got to my house and saw my old 92 F-150 that I was building. I had just gotten some lockers installed and was working on putting the axles back in. She knew what everything meant and offered to help me put it back together. So, instead of going to the beach, she helped, actually helped me get my truck put back together. My neighbor came over and said they were boiling crawfish and offered some. She went and got crawfish, sat under my truck with me, peeled and fed them to me one by one. She literally moved in the next weekend and we have been inseparable ever since. Now married with 2 beautiful babies. Edit, forgot to mention that we originally met on Tinder. Pickup line was, "Anyone ever told you that you're finer than a frog hair split 3 ways? And she answered with shooey, "Butter me up and call me a biscuit." That's about the sweetest thing anyone's ever told me. I knew she was a keeper then. Also, told my brother I wanted to get married on the 4th of July with fireworks and a bouncy house at my wedding, and I kid you not, 5 minutes later she brought up wanting fireworks and a bounce house at her 4th of July wedding. That was before we ever met or talked about a relationship. Fellas, the signs will be there if she's the one. I started wearing a new Pheromone perfume that was very light but smelled wonderful. I absolutely never wore any scents because I have a sensitive nose, so it was very out of character. I did the thing where I sprayed a bit in my hair so that it lasted a bit longer and kind of swept the scent around as I moved. I walked into my friend's house and he started going crazy trying to figure out what the smell was. I was also not the only one in the house. I was super embarrassed, so I didn't say anything, and he basically ended up figuring out that it was coming from me with his nose. He came over, shoved his face in my hair, and sniffed. That is a major turn on for me, breathing onto my neck or scalp in general, and I was already feeling a little turned on because I was in an unhappy relationship with a cheater who was neglecting me emotionally and physically. I felt unattractive and unwanted, so the small amount of attention my friend gave me mixed with the physical touch absolutely healed me. Edit, this happened 13 years ago and me and the friend ended up together. We are still together, 11 years and counting. Edit 2. Hello everyone. I'm so sorry, but I don't know what the perfume was. I bought it at a 6-toy party that I'm pretty sure was actually an MLM. I don't know the name of it. Sorry. I was like 16, at my friend's house. Her mom and little sisters were there. Her and her mom were cooking while I was just talking to them. Mom asks if everyone's ready to eat. I don't say anything because I remember not wanting them to think I'm just there to eat their food. My friend fixes me a plate and brings it over to me with knife and fork. Then goes to get me a glass and pour me a drink. I wanted to marry that woman instantly. That was so hot to me. Made me realize I love acts of service. We did end up dating but only lasted like a year before we both moved to different parts of the country. My wife and I went to the same high school. She's my younger brother's age. We've always been in each other's orbit because we shared a common friend group. My wife was and still is conventionally very attractive, and I think every girl had a bit of a crush on her. I think I just decided at some point that I enjoyed her company and would never try to make it weird by pursuing more than a friendship. We didn't start dating until college, and it was a long, drawn-out courtship, because I was too dumb to realize she was into me. There was a point where I was just starting college and she had just graduated. It was that point in the summer where kids were throwing wild parties in the woods. This one happened to be right around the corner from my parents' house. I was home from school, and too cool for the high school woods party. What I did see though was several police starting to investigate why cars were parked all over the road. They were driving back and forth trying to find the entry point for the woods party. So I sent out like 10 texts to my little brother and whoever I suspected was at the party, including my future wife, that the cops were there. So my brother shows up to our house with about 15 people from the party, my wife included. The plan was to just lay low and leave when all the fuss died down. Well, they were all excited that I saved them. They were able to sneak out a back way to the neighborhood. My wife, when she saw me, ran up to me and hugged me, but when she wrapped her arms around my neck, she also did like a body crunch and brought her legs up and wrapped them around me in what was by far the most passionate platonic hug I've ever gotten. I thought to myself, wow, it would be amazing to date someone like her. 6 months later she's, by pure coincidence, at the same university as I am, and she's hissed at me because I'm completely obvious to every hint she's dropped because my dumbass thinks she's so far out of my league. To be fair to me, she was and still is very much out of my league. She should be married to a 6'2" college quarterback, but she's with me, the less funny and fatter version of Chris Pratt Ayala Parks and Rec. We've been together 14 years, married for 7. There was this guy in college who was good friends with my roommates. I was a grade younger, so they'd gotten to know each other well before I met them, but he was at our place a lot and we got along well. I always felt weird around him, not in a bad way but not in a crush way, I didn't think. That would be like having a crush on Humphrey Bogart. Far too handsome and cool, you'd feel silly even saying it. Anyway, they all went out to the bar one night without me because I was still underage, and when they got back he stopped at my room. He stood in the doorway and reached up to hold onto the doorframe over his head, just standing there and chatting with me, all relaxed in his t-shirt with his arms flexing, and it hit me like a truck how attracted to him I was. Yes, we ended up dating after my then boyfriend and I broke up. We were sat at a cafe, I made an observation or a comment on something and he really seemed to get me. Like, it's hard to explain, but when someone really understands you in a way you have previously felt completely misunderstood on in the past. Following that, we would get into really deep conversations, and he was, and is still, so super cool, odd and talented. We even made out once after drinking too much wine and I was absolutely smitten after that. But then, one day, he said he has a tendency to lose interest really quickly after sleeping with a girl, and did not want to risk our friendship. So we never took it further. My insecure side thinks I might not have been conventionally attractive enough, even though he insisted it really wasn't that, and that he thought I am beautiful. Maybe he is emotionally unavailable and knows it. Maybe he has some dark secrets I never found out about. Either way, I didn't hold a grudge or get mad, but it did take a while to move on, accept him as just a friend, which he still is, as he embodies the poster boy for the one in my life that you had to get over, even though you never technically dated. In high school, had a lot of fun with a girl from class, the year after she moved class, but we still spoke to each other a lot. Then during the summer holiday we learned she would get back into my class, so on the first day of class that year she ran up to me from behind, hugged me hard and stuffed her face in my neck and kissed it. I'll never forget that feeling. Friend was waiting tables at an upscale restaurant. I get a table there and request him. When he walked up wearing a form-fitting dark green dress shirt, I could have taken him right there. He looked so hot. I told him about it, and I noticed when we were roommates every time he went on a first date he wore that shirt, LOL, one compliment. She sat on my lap in the back seat of a friend's dad's car on the way back from a club. The dad drove like an idiot, taking corners too fast and braking accelerating too hard. The result was my friend moving around on my lap in her short skirt and seriously turning me on. As we climbed out of the car when we got home, the dad turned to me and, with a sly smile, said, "Enjoy the ride?" I was on a third date with this nice young woman I had met at a party. We had a good time. She had been dropping hints all night, but I was being oblivious. She was a nice Mormon girl. I was not a nice Mormon boy, but I did like her. She was very smart and pretty. She says to me, "Look, if you don't kiss me tonight I'm going to be very disappointed." So I kissed her. We've been married for a decade now and have a couple kids. I had a hot best friend in high school. One time I was over at her house and she just decides to walk from the shower through the house to her bedroom naked AF. This girl was next level hot and looked really good naked. I just sat there stunned with my jaw on the floor. Oh, I wanted to try my luck, but I was afraid of losing our friendship. Her mom was a MILF and she would walk around half-dressed. She called me her son she never had. We worked together. He was over at my desk and we were working on something together. I don't even remember what we were working on. And while we waited for things to process, we started a small talk. I knew he fished and was asking him about it, and the way he just lit up. The way he started showing me things in his phone and explaining things. He was so excited. He managed such amazing eye contact and the conversation was so easy and just flowed. I loved the way he got excited about his passion. I loved how engaging he was. It was so attractive. I started seeking out more interactions with him at work. We're engaged, bought a house and have 2 kids and a dog. We don't work together anymore as I work from home. But man, I'll never forget that day. I had never connected right away with someone so seamlessly and had such an easy connection. It's still like that. We're disgustingly perfect together. The kind of couple that finishes each other's sentences LOL, and he taught me to fish and now it's our family activity with the kids too. My now boyfriend and future husband, no ring yet, good things take time, instantly turned me on when we met up for some food after not talking for years. We were great friends when we were younger, but we fell out of talking because I was in a very toxic relationship. Once I broke up with my ex, I reached out to him as well as all of our other friends. They were all a very, very important part of my life, so I needed them back in my life after so long. So, we met up to chat and eat, but when I was waiting for him, I was expecting him to come in his car. I was so nervous. Suddenly, I saw someone pull up on a motorcycle. I've always loved motorcycles, and he came in on a sweet-looking sport bike. Instant butterflies, and it made me even more nervous. He even paid for my food that day. We've been together for over 7 years, known each other for 15 years, bought a house, and recently adopted 2 void cats. Can't wait to marry this man. On a summer camp full of hip-hop heads who'd listened to rap all day and all night, he took my 16-yo metalhead as to his own room, shown me a gigantic speaker and played Velvet Revolver so loud the whole hotel started rumbling. We were told to put it down mid-song, but damn, the impression was already made. Especially given that he was 194 centimeters tall, had long hair, the most symmetrical, marble-like face I've ever seen, and he played guitar. I'm asexual, but this one time, just once in my life, looking at this guy I just wanted to FUCK him. Unrequited love, unfortunately. He expressed his feelings to another girl on the very same camp. A girl I had known since 5th grade. We almost always had classes together from 5th grade and throughout high school. We stayed casual friends into our 20s. I always thought she was incredibly attractive, very thin, athletic build and beautiful, but I never pursued anything with her and I never thought anything would happen between us. We were hanging out at my place one night and watched a scary movie, and after the movie she went home. She called me maybe 30 minutes later and her roommate's cat had apparently scared the absolute shit out of her, and she was like, "I need you to come over here right now, I'm freaking out." I went over there and she demanded I sleep over because she was scared out of her mind. We hopped in bed and went to sleep. In the morning I woke up to her really getting herself comfortable against my body. She was the little spoon, and I subconsciously wrapped my arms around her while still half asleep. After a few minutes of fully waking up, I said good morning and she pushed her butt into my crotch and pulled her hair away from her neck, leaving me a perfect opening for a small kiss. I kissed her neck and she tilted her head over and said, "Don't go to work. Eat it." I didn't think this would get any attention. But after reading comments, I will add, I did not go to work. We fuck-a-diddy all goddamn day. And then at least a few times a week for almost a year. Then I found out she was fairly nuts and was going through my phone every night after I fell asleep for no reason. I was only with her. The rest of the relationship was awesome though. This is my embarrassing shit she was trying to duck me story. Last day of my junior year. I'm 17, she's 18. A couple of us got together to celebrate their graduation with tacos and beer. Just the 4-5 of us. She was like 5'4", 175 alts, curvy as all hell, huge teats, great ass, and best of all was the alternative as duck and always wore pinups or oil-stained jeans and band shirts, shaved sides, the works. She was like a little slice of Texas in my SoCal town. We were hanging out, boozing, laughing, celebrating, and to my surprise she sat on my lap. Facing away from me to still talk to everyone else, she adjusted and straddled one of my thighs, and I have this incredibly vivid memory of thinking, damn, her crotch is hot, physically hot. I barely even noticed that when no one else was looking, she would move her hips in such and such way. She leaned back into me and I had a perfect view down her dress as she snuggled her head into me, and I still thought, there's no way this girl is into me, because I was just that insecure. I started bouncing my knee she was sitting on for reasons I can't remember, and she snapped her head at me and was like, "Hey now," in the most sensual way. Still didn't see it. After the night wound down and it was just 3 of us left, she snuggled me on the couch under the blankets, and when the movie ended she said, "Do you want to ride home? I'd love to give you a ride home." And I said, "Guys," I said to this thick as y alternative babe, "Nah, my mom's already coming." She got up and left pretty soon after that. Didn't say bye. I realized on the way home that she was trying to duck me. I told my mom what happened and she laughed the rest of the way home, just cackling at me being such a fucking dense motherfucker. We reconnected a couple years later after she came back from college and she straight up told me I tried every way I could think of to get you to duck me. I wanted you inside me and in my mouth and I wanted you to taste me. I literally humped your leg and you still didn't get the hint, dork. We're still friends. She's married now, but I'll never forgive my teenage self for not jumping that girl's bones. In high school I had a tiny girl at a party swear she was stronger than me. I was sitting on a couch and she straddled me, facing me, and pinned my arms back. I let her. She then put her face very close to mine and said, "See?" I smiled and pushed her away, stood up, pinned her arms at her side and said, "Oh really?" Then I walked away. Took 10 years to realize my mistake. In high school, homeroom, midway through junior year. I was already sitting at my desk. She came in eating a brownie and offered me a bite. I graciously accepted. She broke off a piece, placed it in my mouth, and very slowly, senselessly, allowed her finger to brush across my lips. Oh yeah, I felt something. It took a few more months, but I eventually caught the rest of her hints and asked her out. That was 36 years ago. We've been happily married for 28 years. I had a friend who I was best friends with and she was heartbroken over a guy she liked who didn't like her. Was sad. I made sure she got home and it wasn't out of the ordinary for us to bullshit until really late at night. Just like friends would. Then I fell asleep and she put covers over me and she was going to bed. But I'm weird and that little bit of waking me up doing that and I'm up again. Well, I rolled over half asleep and put my arm around her and she put her hands on the back of my forearm over her. After about a second I realized she was topless. Not even sure about bottoms but I told her I have to go or I would end up doing something. But that unexpected got me bad.